Heading back in studio for a brand new season, tackling the latest COVID-19 concerns. And joining us live now, Dr. Mehmet Oz. Dr. Oz, thanks for being on the show.
What's going on? We've become sort of a COVID-19 headquarters, so
Yeah,
I have
right.
the task force is coming on the show today, so lots to discuss.
Good. I miss having you on in the studio here discussing my infatuation with tamales. I know we had fun with that in the past. I mean, so much has changed over the past year here, and I know you're back in the studio. So tell us about some of the changes to your show.
Well, for one, we've decided to really focus in on a couple themes that are bothering people. And people want facts. They want to make sense of the very complicated fire hose of information coming in their way. So, for example, I mentioned the task force. The reason I want to stay close to them is they have insights that most of us don't get access to. And if I can just decipher what they're trying to say so it's accessible to the average viewer, it makes a big difference. As an example, big in the news this week is whether or not we downplayed the pandemic early in its course and why we did that. And, when you mix politics and medicine, you end up with politics, which is not a good thing if you just want to learn the medicine part of it. So I just try to stay clear of all the political issues and say what did happen that was good and what happened that was wrong and what did we learn from it and how do we make sure this fall, when we know we're going to have more cases, especially in the colder parts of America, we need to be reactive. I mean, San Diego may be spared, but I can guarantee the northern latitudes are going to have big issues. Israel just shut down overnight because they're already seeing a resurgence. So, we're not through this yet. If we respect the virus, however, we will beat it.
What do you consider the biggest, more immediate healthcare concerns right now when it comes to COVID-19?
Well, without question, it's the fact that there's a continuous spread of the virus at a low level throughout the country. And in Southern California, there's asymptomatic spread. It's probably 40% of all the spread. So you don't know you're giving it to somebody else. And for that reason, simple little maneuvers like avoiding super spreader events are hugely beneficial. And so when we discuss things like, are we going to pack football stadiums with fans? There are probably ways of doing it with minimum capacity, but it's a risk. And are we willing to take that risk as opposed to, for example, opening schools, which all the major medical groups really believe should be done, and I believe can be done safely. And today on the show, you'll hear the testing, as Arjars announced, and I think this is important news. There are going to be 150 million point-of-care tests sent out to schools so that we know if our schools are safe, because getting kids back to school is not an elective issue. The penalty we pay for keeping them home is a big one.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I have 3 kids that are in front of a computer screen every single morning, and they're missing out on the conversations with kids and all of that comes with it. So I know you've got a big premiere week planned here. What are some of the big stories that you're going to be discussing on the show?
Well, we got a lot of big guests, and they come, some of them are very serious issues like the disparities in healthcare that we have in America. One of my producers said something that stunned me, but it was echoed by several guests on the show as well. The way black men see police is the way black women see doctors. They don't feel heard. They don't feel respected. They feel often that they're getting second-rate care. And the numbers to support that. The mortality rate is higher for black women going through childbirth, for example, and for their children. Those numbers get better if you have a black doctor taking care of you than a white doctor. So we have a whole campaign, More Black Doctors, is what is the name of the campaign. And it's an endeavor that we believe will make a difference by giving young people of color visibility into a career path they don't think about. But then we have the classic investigations that my show's so famous from. Paris Hilton's coming on. She says she was abused as a child and it led to scarring that created much of what happened the rest of her life, that she was digitally raped when her video was released without her consent, the sex tape. So these are the kinds of interviews that I think get people focused on whatever happens to be in the zeitgeist that day. But at underlying current, this year is definitely going to be COVID-19.
Real quick, we only got a few seconds left here, Dr. Oz. How's Mom doing?
Mom's doing okay, but she got COVID-19, and I'm going to just point that out because she got better from it. But it is a big issue for a lot of Americans when their parents get sick. What happens to them? Do they get a foggy brain afterwards? So we'll talk about that on Friday.
All right, Dr. Oz, I always appreciate the time. By the way, you can watch Dr. Oz right here on the CW each weeknight at 6 p.m. Thanks again, Dr. Oz.
God bless.